The standard confidence that accompanies another year didn't keep going long in 2020. Between the potential danger of a universal war, energized by the Iran-United States struggle, and the real risk of a coronavirus, the previous scarcely any months have been tense. These are terrifying occasions, and the internet is by all accounts loaded up with bits of gossip and deception. And no limited quantity of pearl clutching lets unmistakable up the primary misinterpretation. The coronavirus isn't called COVID-19. Rather, COVID-19 is the name of the illness brought about by the infection. That infection has been named SARS-CoV-2, Serious Intense Respiratory Disorder Coronavirus 2. Consider it like AIDS and HIV. HELPS is the name of the sickness. HIV is the infection that causes AIDS. Unlike our past Wuhan influenza records, we're going to keep things somewhat lighter here. We'll concentrate on the inquisitive side of the infection and the ailment, including some fascinating subtleties we haven't secured at this point. Discussion about misfortune. The Corona Brew logo has a crown on it. Corona signifies crown in Spanish and Latin. Circumstantially, the coronavirus got its name from the crown-like spikes on the outside of the infection particles. When a few people initially found out about the new infection, they were confounded and may have related it with the Corona Brew brand. They may have even accepted that the infection was spread by drinking the brew. It has muddled the amount of an effect this mixed-up conviction has had on deals of the lager, as different sources have detailed various outcomes. It's practically similar to the coronavirus is attempting to dispose of any observers. In a disrupting incongruity, Li Wenliang kicked the bucket in the wake of contracting COVID-19. Li, a Chinese specialist who worked at Wuhan Central Hospital, was known for being vocal about the risks of this rising virus, at least as right on time as December 30, 2019. Li cautioned individual doctors about the chance of an episode. The Chinese police prompted him to quit offering bogus remarks in an administration endeavor to hide the circumstance where no one will think to look. After Li's shocking demise, a major piece of the Chinese populace was justifiably disturbed. This moved the hashtags Wuhan government owes Dr. Li Wenliang an expression of remorse and we need the right to speak freely of discourse slant on Weibo, a Chinese web-based life webpage. The Chinese government rushed to blue pencil both hashtags, too. This most recent contention just adds fuel to the troublesome connection between Chinese specialists and their populace. In 2019, the strain between terrain China and Hong Kong arrived at a limit because of opposition from Hong Kong against the administration's strategies. Chinese researchers have discovered that people are similarly prone to be tainted by the coronavirus. In any case, fatalities in China have happened at a pace of 2.8% for men, contrasted with 1.7% for ladies, recommending that men are bound to pass on when tainted. Remember that these measurements may downplay the pace of disease in the two gatherings, so these rates could be overhauled with new data. At present, the most likely purpose behind the sex distinction can be credited to something that researchers definitely knew. The female-resistant reaction is more grounded than that of males, although the specific explanation behind this is as yet obscure. It is accepted to be connected to either the more elevated levels of estrogen hormone in ladies or the way that every lady has two X chromosomes instead of a man's one X chromosome. Both factors add to insusceptibility. This sexual orientation distinction could happen for transformative reasons, as ladies need to stay solid for delayed occasions to manage youngsters and sustain them. As of this composition, we are around a quarter of a year into this new scourge. Is there any genuine explanation behind panic? At first look, it appears that there may be. In an outright sense, Wuhan influenza has just murdered a bigger number of individuals than SARS, extreme intense respiratory disorder, which was brought about by another strain of coronavirus in the mid-2000s. In any case, the rates tell an alternate story. As of this composition, 101,906 individuals have contracted COVID-19 and 3,465 have kicked the bucket of it. On the other hand, 8,098 individuals turned out to be sick with SARS and 774 died. Up until this point, the general passing rate from COVID-19 has all the earmarks of being 3.4%. While the casualty rate from SARS was an incredible 9.6%. Of course, any passings from COVID-19 are too much. Be that as it may, a significant concern in regards to this ailment is the manner by which effectively and subtly it can spread. In the event that you are inside 1.8 meters (6 feet) of a contaminated individual, you are viewed as in danger. That makes any metro a potential problem area for contamination. Furthermore, it can take as long as about 14 days for an individual to create manifestations. That makes this new infection nearly as simple to come down with as the regular bug, yet COVID-19 is unquestionably increasingly deadly. The worldwide economy carries on to some degree like a living being, and it began 2020 with a dreadful bug. As per the World Bank, the underlying projections for worldwide development in 2020 were 2.5%, marginally over the post-emergency low recorded in 2019. To exacerbate the situation, the coronavirus pestilence is influencing China, one of the most impressive economies on the planet. As indicated by a February 2020 Reuters survey of business analysts in China, their country's yearly financial development in the primary quarter of 2020 is relied upon to decay to 4.5% from around 6.0% in the past quarter. Much of this is because of the episode, and it's required to influence all of us. Notwithstanding, these financial specialists foresee that monetary development could bounce back rather rapidly if the flare-up is viably contained. How can this scourge hurt the economy so dramatically? Well, individuals are significantly less slanted to travel and utilize different administrations as of now, since they fear being presented to the infection. In any case, we ought to anticipate that an expansion in memberships should Netflix and other gushing stages as individuals marathon watch appears while covering up in their homes. Where there is the internet, there are paranoid notions. The COVID-19 pandemic has been taken care of in a shockingly developed manner by individuals on the internet, with the exception of an image or two. In any case, the flood of new cases outside Wuhan, particularly in South Korea and Italy, has driven a few people to be dubious. The secretive demise of the informant didn't help, either. These theories are false, in spite of the fact that they surely have pulled in the consideration of numerous individuals. As indicated by one hypothesis, China built the coronavirus as a weapon. The infection was then discharged to make space for rural expansion. Even government officials appear to have scheme fever. U.S. Senator Tom Cotton likewise blamed the Chinese government for injustice. Wuhan influenza isn't the primary flare-up that started in China. Famously, SARS and the Asian influenza additionally began there. On the dread and vulnerability created by this new pestilence, Asians need to manage bigotry and xenophobia. Anti-Chinese conclusion has been developing in the previous 2 months. These responses are maybe justifiable, yet certainly not sensible. The greater part of the spread to different countries is expected to non-Asians visiting China and coming back to their nations, as opposed to the reverse way around. Reports of xenophobia against Chinese individuals are getting normal. "Yo, infection kid, try not to taint us," was shouted at a Chinese-Canadian understudy in Vancouver. In another model, the hashtag #ChineseDon come to Japan was inclining on Twitter among Japanese clients. Then again, the Chinese government making light of her out and out lying about the infection isn't improving the situation much. Would lightning be able to strike a similar spot twice? All things considered, indeed, that is the general purpose of flutteresters. Lamentably, with regards to the coronavirus, a similar standard applies. Let's state you got the infection and had the option to ricochet back. You are fine, right? No, not so much. As of late, a Japanese lady was determined to have COVID-19 for the subsequent time. The lady is a visit transport manager in Osaka, which makes her all the more effectively presented to contamination because of the quantity of individuals with whom she interacts. 8. That news is bleak in light of the fact that it elevates the potential effect of the ailment. Besides, it makes the advancement of a viable immunization less suitable. Researchers are as yet attempting to make sense of how the coronavirus contain a similar individual twice, or if there is another clarification for the twofold positive outcomes. Now, numerous individuals have caught wind of the most plausible inception of the coronavirus: bats. China has gained notoriety for having a curious nearby cooking as wild creatures can be purchased at open-air advertises and eaten. One local delicacy incorporates a purportedly scrumptious and very unpleasant bat soup. Scientists are as of now attempting to figure out which creature is answerable for transmitting the infection to people. However, they are as yet uncertain. Two other potential guilty parties incorporate snakes and pangolins. In case you're new to pangolins, they are charming warm-blooded creatures with flaky bodies that can twist into a ball when under danger. Pangolins can be found normally in Asia and Africa. Yet, these animals are dealt everywhere throughout the world since they are viewed as a delicacy. It makes you believe that this entire fiasco could have been kept away from if individuals would simply disregard wild creatures. On the off chance that you were in New York toward the beginning of February 2028, you may have run over a make sense of straight of Isaac Asimov's robot. This computerized paramedic was made by Promobot, a Pennsylvania-based organization. The droid was being tried in and around parks, supposedly. The 152-centimeter tall, 5 feet 0 inches robot could screen for the coronavirus by meandering the avenues inquiring as to whether they had fevers. In Bryant Park, the robot was immediately prohibited for not having a permit. Some people who ran into the droid portrayed it as adorable. Others suspected it was pointless, excess, and dreadful. They clearly didn't have the foggiest idea about that the bot can move the pit bull and sing Beatles tunes. Oleg Kivorkutsev, the originator of Promobot, clarified, "We were attempting to inform individuals regarding the infection, and bring regard for the issue.